prayed.
It was recording.
No. Whatever we said so far has not been recorded because
Mm.
I'm going to YouTube once. Yeah.
It was recording.
No. Whatever we said so far. Okay. For now, so thank you. Okay. The floor is open. If anybody has any idea, anything any confusion, any problem, any revelations, please, you have the floor. Any ideas? Any ideas?
Well, I don't have ideas, but I just was trying to find out whether we have any recording of where other people might have approached Jesus and touched him for healing, just like this woman did.
Oh, well, there is no record or no records, right? But from what the woman said, right, and the general sense one gets is that it was something that was part and parcel of the belief system and call it the practice of the people at the time, at least within the Jewish environment, right? So okay, that's what for now I can see, right? And there are other things we will see. Auntie Q, do you have any?
So you are saying it was a common thing in those days?
I'm not saying a common thing, but I'm saying that it was a practice, right? It was for the woman to say what she said, right, and do as she said. One gains this sort of insight that this was not something out of the blue, right? It was something that was common, not common, but it was something that was practiced within the community. Because look at it, the sanction was in the form of don't touch. Are you getting the point? Don't touch, because anything the woman touched was contaminated. Are you getting me? So what is the opposite of it? If touching something introduced death to it, a holy person touching something could bring something divine to it, right? A property to it. So you can look at it from that angle, that one gains a certain general sense of something that was known to the experience of the people at the time. Is that acceptable?
No, are you saying so other most people who were contaminated came to Jesus to touch Jesus and because they are healing? Is that what you are saying?
That's the question, but I'm saying there is no record of another incident where somebody touched Jesus, at least somebody with a similar situation, touching Jesus and then receiving a similar healing, right? But from what happened, right, and the way Mark has presented the text, one gets a general sense that this was something that was known to happen within their environment, right? I mean, the Jews had records of prophets who could perform miracles, right? Is that making sense? So at least for the woman to say, I'm going to touch and I will receive this, right? It wasn't something that came out of the blue. It was something that maybe she knew happened within the society she lived in. Are you getting me? But it will require somebody, I mean, the object of touch, right, to be not just a mere human being. Is that making sense? Hello?
Okay, I'm here. We don't have any recorded proof, so
Okay.
it is what it is.
Okay. So today, I want to accomplish two things. We'll revisit some of the things we said yesterday at the program. And also, I want us to take an issue we dealt with some few weeks ago, but we want to look at it critically, Lord, and that's verse 28. And then we also look at what verse 34. So if you look at the guide or the reminders I sent, right, today, if you read it, Dr. Boyson, did you read it?
I took a quick swap at it.
Okay. So you realize the first question I said, in conditional argument terms, what did the woman imply in verse 28? You understand now? What did the woman imply in verse 28 when you use her statement in when you use conditional argument to analyze her statement? What did she imply? Right? We dealt with this some few weeks ago, but there is more there that I want us to bring on board. I mean, or probe a bit deeper for you to get a sense of this type of questions, right? Especially in our modern environment where AI is a craze, right? You realize that this actually goes to the heart of AI. So I will do a lot of the talking today. I'm going to go deeper, right? And then once we get it, I will ask questions here and there. I will give people the opportunity to ask questions or make contributions, right? Then when I'm done with this first part, we'll go to the second part where we'll revisit some of the things we did yesterday on the program. Okay, the first question, therefore, the woman said, let's look at the text, verse 28. Verse 28. Right? The woman said, if I may touch but his clothes, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. Now, what is a conditional argument? Right? A conditional argument, we said, is any argument that takes the form of an if then, right? So you necessarily have two parts to that sort of argument, the if part and the then part, right? Now, in the case of the woman, the if part, I mean, in all conditional arguments, we said the if part, we call it the antecedent. And the then part, we call it the consequent. In regular argument, the antecedent is your premise. The consequent is your conclusion, right? So since this is a conditional argument, an if-then argument, we are talking about implication, right? So when the woman said, if I may touch but her cloth, I may touch but his cloth becomes your antecedent, right? And I shall be whole becomes your consequence. Now, again, since this is a conditional argument, what did the woman mean when she made that statement? What exactly does the antecedent mean? Now, I'm taking you next to something, the necessity or the sufficiency or the necessity and sufficiency of a condition. Let me repeat it. A conditional argument has two parts. The antecedent, the if part of the statement. The consequent is the then part of the statement. Now, a conditional argument, therefore, posits that one thing is either necessary for another thing or is sufficient for another thing. So when the woman said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. Did she say that touching Jesus's cloth was necessary to her getting her wholeness?
Yes.
Or was it sufficient for her getting her wholeness? Are you getting the tricky part of it, right?
Yeah, it was necessary but not sufficient.
Oh, okay. Why do you say so?
Because as we've established from previous premises, it was necessary, it was needful that she touch. She has to get in touch with Jesus and touch. But the touch could produce only healing, and Jesus was the one that will effect the wholeness.
Okay. Okay. That's absolutely true. However,
Why do you have to add however?
Yes, because now you are going to get the other part of the story. All conditional arguments actually give you sufficiency, not necessity.
Gives you sufficiency but not necessity?
Yes. Because
Oh,
this is the way you look at it. When you say something is necessary, if you say A is necessary for B to happen, right? It simply means that whenever you see B, it means A has happened. Do you get the picture?
that's true. That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Very, very sophisticated. Whenever you say A is necessary for B, it means that whenever you see B, it means A has happened. Because B cannot happen in the absence of A. Are we getting the picture clear? Hello?
Yeah, we are titrating it.
Say that again.
I said we are titrating it. We are thinking about it. Once you are saying it,
Okay.
we are processing it.
Okay. Now, when you say something is sufficient, if you say A is sufficient for B to happen, it doesn't necessarily mean A is necessary for B. but it simply means that whenever A happens, B has likely happened. Are you not getting the nuance? When we say A is necessary for B, it simply means that whenever you see B or whenever B happens, it simply means that A has also happened. Right? However, when we say something A is sufficient for B, it simply means that whenever you see A has happened, you can conclude that B has also happened. Are you getting the nuance? Andy, are you getting it? Dr. Boyson?
I'm using the Bluetooth.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah, we get it.
So, let me repeat. Necessity means if A is necessary for B, it means when you see B, then A has happened. When you say A is sufficient for B, right? It means that whenever you see A, it means B has happened. So you see where the emphasis is? With necessity, you look at what has happened to conclude that the condition has been met. So if you say touching is necessary for wholeness, it means that whenever you see wholeness, it means that touching has happened.
Pastor, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm using the Bluetooth, so it doesn't pick the voice, but I'm hearing everything you're saying.
Oh, okay.
All right.
No, I asked a question. Do you get the fine print, the finer point of the sufficiency and necessity argument? Or you want me to go over it again?
Oh, no, I heard everything you said, but when I speak, you won't hear me. That's all I'm saying.
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear
Yes,
you.
yes. So I'm on the Bluetooth too, so I just want you to know.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Now, so I told you, I mean, we've always made the point, Pastor Gabo and Dr. Boyce, that this Bible is a mind training book. You know, that's a mantra of ours. Dr. Boyce, would you agree?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we are looking at how Mark is forcing us to become critical thinkers. Right? By even incorporating what this woman, her private utterance, into the text. Now, she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. Which means it is sufficient for touching to engender wholeness. That was a statement. So because she made a conditional argument, and all conditional arguments are sufficiency arguments. She said touching was enough to guarantee wholeness. Dr. Boyson, can you see where this is actually hitting the argument we've been making between the wholeness and the healing?
Yes.
So when she said, his clothes, I shall be whole, she literally said, touching is sufficient for wholeness. Did she get wholeness when she did the touching?
No, she got healing.
So what does that tell you about touching?
That touching is not necessarily sufficient for wholeness.
Right?
But it's the what is it? The most important thing to start from. Because
Well,
without the touching, there's no healing, even let alone talk about wholeness.
well,
So in this case, I think what she's literally saying is that my getting healed or whole depends on me being able to touch. Because she knows
yes,
that of a surety, once I
yes,
touch this man, healing is automatic. So it's
yes,
incumbent upon her to be able to do that. Whatever means she can do to touch, that was a prime emphasis.
yes. Now, but the larger question is, mark the altar allows us to interact with the woman directly by way of her own statements or utterance. And when we hear her, what she says is wholeness, not healing. Are you not getting the difference? And so she said, if I touch, I shall. And it is because we've placed emphasis on the fact that she gained new information, right?
You see, so now you see now this confirms what I've been arguing all along. That
Yeah.
to her, she thought touching was going to give her wholeness, but it was healing. It was healing, but she thought that was going to be whole.
Yeah, nobody is saying you are wrong. No.
I'm
All
not
I'm
wrong. You
saying
need to
is,
give me some credit. In her mind,
no,
touching
you
was
are
going to give her
absolutely
wholeness.
right. No, where I just want you, I don't want you to venture, is go into her mind, because you only made a statement, and that statement was something anybody can hear. When you go into her mind, you become an omniscient author or narrator.
I'm not
And
omis. I'm just going by her argument. She thought that
yeah,
touching Jesus was going to give her the wholeness she desires.
well, that's why we are now going back, and we now want to go back and even analyze what she thought was knowledge. Was it knowledge, or was it just belief?
I think she combined both. Because
No,
knowledge means, which means she's been told, somebody gave her a word of knowledge,
it,
word
it,
of testimony or
it,
something, and she believed it.
it is possible for me to be told Dr. Boyson has 3 PhDs, and I believe it. And I take it for knowledge. Only for me to meet Dr. Boyson and know Dr. Boyson has 1 PhD. So the fact that I took it to mean knowledge, and now I get the real information, does it mean my original knowledge will remain knowledge, or I would have to downgrade it?
That would be false knowledge.
Thank you. Are you getting me? Thank you.
But why do I
And
need
we will
why do
see
I need 3
this.
PhDs?
Say that again.
Why do I need 3 PhDs?
Oh, no. Hey, haven't you heard one person he used to, I mean, he was an orchard owner, a winemaker in California, right? He started after his first degree, age 22. The next 25 years, he spent it getting degrees upon degrees upon degrees.
Well, I'm not going far. The current vice chancellor of Central University, that man was my mate at Tech, and he has, I think,
Okay.
two. I don't know whether it's 2 or 3. He has 2 PhDs, so it's no
Yeah.
surprise.
This guy has 7.
7 PhDs.
Yes. And 14 masters.
He doesn't have any life. He has no life.
Yeah. Yeah. So all I'm trying to say is, yes, the woman heard something. The hearing brought in new information. And at least that new information redirected her steps from that of going to hospitals and clinics to a crusade ground, right? But now, all along, we thought that was knowledge. But we now realize, based on what she said, it was just belief and not knowledge, which is to say, belief is not as strong as knowledge. Are you not getting the point, Claire? Yes. And so, down the line, when I introduce you to a bit of what we call epistemic logic, the logic of knowledge, right? Where you begin to assess what a character knows and how it influences his actions, right? You get to understand the fuller weight of a person's utterance or the state of a person's knowledge and the actions that flow from it. So here we come back and we realize that, hey, though the woman heard something, she heard about Jesus. And based on that, she formulated a plan, right? Based on the knowledge or information she had received. But it turned out that her knowledge was only a belief because she said her touching Jesus was a guarantee for her wholeness, which turned out not to be the case. Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, yeah, go ahead.
The may, does it mean guarantee?
May is what we call permissive.
Yeah, very light.
Right?
It's very,
and shall
the may is very
is
conditional.
authoritative or mandatory.
Yeah, so the may guarantee.
No, but in
Yeah,
this
Pastor
particular,
Gabo, I think she used may because there was no guarantee that she could touch Jesus. Looking at the
yes,
press, the crowd, and the people she had to go through to get to him. But see, as long as she can touch the master, boom, that will be done. Her biggest problem is being
was
able
touching.
to
Touch
get
Jesus.
close to Jesus.
You see, that's absolute. That's fantastic, Dr. Boyce. That's fantastic. You get me? So these are some of the things, right? And we are spending time on this because once we master it again, we will apply it to any text, not just the Bible, even the documents you work with, right? And such understanding will open new worlds of skill sets, right, to you. Now, so we come back and we realize, okay, the woman's knowledge was actually just a belief. So what does sufficiency really mean in this case? It simply means
It means a requirement.
it simply means that, hey, other things could bring about the wholeness, not just touching. And we have case upon cases where people received wholeness from Jesus without they having to touch him. Are you getting the picture clear?
That's
so,
true.
So we have this because we can, Dr. Boyson, when we first began using you mentioned the lepers, right?
The lepers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 10 lepers. If you read that account, you realize that they stood afar and only shouted for Jesus to make a difference in their lives, right? And Jesus did. And then one returned and then thanked. Jesus didn't touch him, but Jesus said, be made whole. So it is possible for Jesus to confer wholeness without the recipient having to touch him or needing to touch him. Is that making sense? So something being sufficient does not necessarily mean it is necessary. Are you getting the picture clear? So let's go back to understand. Yeah.
So the sufficiency. The sufficiency was her belief or her faith. Is that correct?
It was just belief. I mean, her touching, right? And getting, because the whole thing has to do with the antecedent. We are dealing with the antecedent, not the consequence, right? Because that's where the real problem was. She said, if I touch.
So the touch was faith, it was strategy.
We don't know.
It was believed too.
Look at how Jesus actually corrected her. And that's the essence of this part of the distance, right?
Because like I said, there was no way she was going to be able to get in contact. So
okay, so she says, it is sufficient for me to get my wholeness when I touch or if I touch. Are you understanding? And it turned out to be not true, right? However, we say that whenever we see the antecedent happening, we also can conclude that the consequence has also happened. So if touching was sufficient to bring wholeness, anybody who touched Jesus would necessarily be made whole. Are we not getting the picture clear?
Yeah, but her touch was different. This was a conscientized touch.
Well,
I mean, those who were touching were just per chance or this,
So now you will see the role of the disciples in this. When they asked Jesus, hey, the people are thronging thee. As far as they were concerned, touching was synonymous with thronging. Are you getting me? And they would not be wrong. They would not be wrong. And they were not wrong. And we'll see why. You getting the point? But we said if A is sufficient for B, it means that whenever you see A, it means B has happened. However, if you say A is necessary for B, it means whenever you see B, it means A has happened. You get the trick?
Yeah.
Sufficient looks at the antecedent. Necessary looks at the consequence. Are you not getting the point there? So for necessity, it simply check if the consequence has happened. Check if the woman is whole. If the woman is whole, then it means that she has touched. If this argument was a necessity argument. Are you not getting the point clear? However, since all conditional arguments are by default sufficiency arguments, it means that check if the antecedent has happened. If the antecedent has happened, then the consequence has also happened. Let's use a typical example, right? Would you agree that whenever it rains, the ground will be wet?
Sure.
Right? Whenever it rains, the ground will be wet. So rain is sufficient for the ground getting wet. True?
Yeah,
Hello?
it's true.
Yeah.
But is it also
But
is it also not necessary?
Does it mean that when you see a wet ground, it necessarily means that it has rained?
No, because you can use a water hose to wash.
Are you not getting the difference? So it is possible for the ground to be wet without there being a downpour.
Rain.
However, whenever there is rain, the ground will be wet. So it is possible in sufficiency arguments for the consequent to happen without
The antecedent.
the antecedent happening, because other things could cause the consequence to happen. But whenever the antecedent happens, the consequence necessarily has happened. Right? Now, if we turn that same thing into a necessity argument, and we say that it is necessary for it to rain for the ground to be wet. It means that when I see a wet ground, I conclude automatically that there has been what? Rain. That is so there can be no ground wetting if there has been no rain falling, if you are dealing with necessity. However, when you are dealing with sufficiency, it is possible for the ground to be wet and the antecedent not happening. Why? Because other causes could lead to the consequence in a sufficiency argument. However, whenever the antecedent happens, it is a guarantee that the consequence has happened. Is that making sense? So we get this sense from this text, this woman's experience, that she framed her argument in sufficiency terms, right, that touching was sufficient for what? Wholeness. And she was proven wrong. Why? Because other causes could have led to the wholeness. Is that now making sense? And so touching actually was not needed at all. But whenever it was there, if it happened, if that was really true, and that was true, I mean, here it wasn't true. But if that was true, it means that when she touched, she should have been guaranteed wholeness. But here we realize she only got healing and not wholeness. That's to tell you, touching was not a guarantee or even necessary for wholeness. Now let's go to verse 34. In verse 34, we will see Jesus saying, and he said unto her, I'm reading verse 34, daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague, right? It was, Jesus said it was what? Her what? Faith, not her touch.
But without a touch, she couldn't have gotten closer.
Well, but that's why we are saying that, hey, if you analyze her statement, right, she did the touching, but she didn't get the wholeness she said she was going to get. But Jesus told her, rather, it is your faith that has gotten you the wholeness, not the fact that you touched. Gabo, you getting the nuance?
Yes, I'm getting it.
Okay. So Jesus actually corrected her. And that is why in the guide I sent, I asked the question, right? I said in verse 34, Jesus said the woman's faith had made her whole. How does this compare with the woman's statement in verse 28? Right? So Jesus actually corrected the woman's call it, she corrected her belief into knowledge, right? So
it was a faith, not a touch.
Not a touch.
But let me ask this: if the woman didn't come forward with a touch, if she was just in the crowd, would she have been healed?
Not likely. Not likely. Because don't forget, it was her touch that drew virtue from Jesus. So yes, the touch did something, but it didn't get what she said she was looking for. Are you getting the difference?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So Jesus corrected her that it wasn't your touch, it was your faith. So now we go back and we want to rework. Could the touching be part of her expression of faith? Maybe.
Definitely.
Are we not getting the picture clear? Oh, then that will open the whole, because then what is faith? How did the woman express that faith? Because Jesus said it was her faith. Now we'll have to go back and now look at everything the woman did and will realize that that becomes the model of faith.
Believing and making action.
Right? Which will mean that, like we did, you define your problem. You set a goal, you formulate a plan, you execute the plan, you evaluate the plan, you regroup, you recalibrate, right? Until you get it right. That is, and if you look at what the woman did, right, you realize that this was a woman who didn't give up. So faith actually requires action and what? Perseverance or persistence, tenacity or stamina, staying power. Contrary to what we've been made to believe, that you wait. Are you getting me? Oh, now a whole Pandora box has been opened. We have to look at what then is faith, at least according to Jesus, based on the narrative from Mark chapter 5, verse 25 to 34. You see the floodgates opening? For us to use a woman's actions and whatever as guide to model faith. And that to set the stage for, because next week, hopefully, maybe I will finish I don't know, right? Because I want to use this test to actually teach a new thing, but it's like the time is already on us. We have only 2 minutes, right? To introduce you to another aspect where you use one thing, glean ideas from that thing, and use that as a model to look at another thing and see parallels and help you to gain insight in the new domain based on what you've learned in the old domain. Are we excited?
Yeah.
Right? And so what we did yesterday was take this narrative from Mark and map it onto the project life cycle, project management in our contemporary world. How does what we see in this narrative parallel what happens in the project life cycle in project management? Are we getting the picture clear, Gabo? How you take ideas from one domain? Because this is Bible. A woman with a problem. How do we gain ideas from there in project management? That's what you listened to yesterday, if you did listen to the program yesterday. That's what happened.
Yes, I did. I did listen. It was powerful.
Okay. Yeah. So it means that we can actually handle a project. If you are tasked with leading a project, look at what the woman did. Use it as a model to gain insight as to the project you are managing. Powerful idea. Is that making sense?
Yep. Yes,
Well,
it,
it's already 8:01. So I think we've done justice to at least the if then part, right? We've laid it to rest. Next week, God willing, if I don't get a directive to move to another test, we will actually look at this mapping from one domain to the other using this woman's experience, this narrative, right, to apply to a new area in our contemporary world. That's okay?
yeah, before I wanted to ask a question. So is this the only method or the only way Jesus will heal and make whole?
No. That's why we said the woman's her statement turned out to be just mere belief and not knowledge. Because she framed everything in sufficiency terms. And we get to, by reading the text, we get to know she was mistaken, right? Because her touching, she still managed to touch, but she didn't get wholeness. And Jesus said it was rather her faith that got her wholeness, not her touching. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Dr. Boyce, any question?
Not really. I think we've tackled everything for today. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But I mean, I
do you
like
have enough material for
today's
Blessed
revelation.
Thursday?
Sorry.
Do you have enough material today to really go at it?
Yeah, I think we can
next
work on
week?
the sufficiency and necessity. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gabo, any question?
No question.
Auntie Q, any question? Okay. We'll end here for today.
No question.
Okay.